Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Lagore. I'm the product specialist for Skywatcher here in North America. And today we're going to get started on our What's Up webcast. This is technically episode 3. For those of you who joined last week, thanks for holding out with us because obviously we had some technical issues. We've hopefully got all those ironed out this week. So we're going to be covering some brand new products for 2020 as well as some stuff we just released at the end of 2019. So we're really excited to show some of this stuff. Some of you may have seen our virtual NEAF video last Saturday. This is kind of a follow-up to that, but it covers more in-depth details about those products. And this also gives you a chance to do a Q&A with us too about those products. Some of these already are on the website. Some of the newer ones will be on the website soon. And we'll get all that taken care of and covered at that point. So thanks for all of you joining in. Again, this is our third webcast, so we're still working out some of the bugs, but let's get to it. If you have any questions, I can see your questions over in the live chat. I'll be happy to cover any of those moving forward. So, let me get over here and scoot up to the corner here so we can get started. All right. So, at Skywatcher, we're always working on new products, and 2020 is no different. We wish we could have shown some of these at NEAF last weekend, but with all the weird things going on in the world, this is where we're at. So this gives everybody all over the world a chance to see these products too and ask questions. So we're excited to do this. So to get things started is our brand new EQ6-R series. Now the EQ6-R bridges upon the original EQ8 and expands upon that to bring it up to the more current imaging standards that are needed for today's advanced imager and observatory capabilities as well as remote imaging. So just some of the features on the EQ8R. It still has 110-pound payload capacity, and this is what was still found on the original EQ8 is still found here. We needed a high capacity mount for the advanced user for the current era. So 110-pound payload capacity, 8-inch diameter gears on both the right ascension and declination. And we have added belt drive to both axes. On the original EQ8, it was only on the right ascension. On the EQ8R, we did the RA and the deck axis, and this actually allowed us to adjust the positioning of the motors for the EQ8R. Now on the original EQ8, we had the motors offset on the side, and that made it side heavy. And with that, it made it hard to balance. So the newer EQ8, the EQ8R, has those centered at this point, so it makes balancing much easier for this mount. And that's because the belt drives have allowed us to position everything more centered on the mount. Continuing on, we still have the built-in snap port. Now, some of you might not be aware of this. A lot of our go-to mounts have what's called a snap port. And a snap port is basically a 2.5 or 3.5 millimeter plug. And you can actually connect your DSLR or mirrorless camera. And we will be able to control our camera like an intervalometer through the hand controller. So you can actually set up your entire sequence through the hand controller. And you can set your exposure length and the delay between each shot. So that's something you can do without needing an external computer. So that's the snap port. You just need the right cable. You can always email us if you have a particular cable. We have yet to find a camera that a cable doesn't exist. So that's something that you can do on pretty much all of our mounts that have that snap port feature. Now the EQ6-R series is a observatory level mount, so it's heavy. It has to hold that 110-pound payload. So the mount head weight is about 57 pounds. I actually have it right back here. You can't really see it, but it's a pretty big mount. And the tripod, if you do get the tripod, it's more of a portable pier, is about 65 pounds, and it's hefty. But as you can see from the picture, it's holding a 70-pound astrograph. That's a 12.5-inch Hyperion from our friends at Star Arizona. So let's keep going on that. So now the big additions to the EQ6-Rs, and let me move my self around here real quick so we can see some of this. The newest additions for this are the cable management features. And cable management's a huge problem when you're doing imaging. You don't really want to have cables scraping off of your setup if you don't have to. That causes cable drag, which actually basically pulls, the weight of the cable pulls on the end of your scope and can cause tracking and guiding issues and stuff like that. So ideally, if you can run that through the system nice and clean, that's where you want to do it. So to get through this, a lot of the advanced mounts have a cable management system. There are some new options now where you can put like little computer boxes on the back of the telescope and route the cables up. Those are good options too, but you still have a power cable coming down from that box. So it's a good answer, but it's not the best. The best would be to route them through the mount or through a set of ports. Now on the EQ6-R series, we've actually added these ports. So the first one is 4 USB 3.0 ports, and these aren't powered, just so you know. And basically that allows you to route your camera USB, your filter wheel USB, your guider USB. All that can actually sit right inside these USBs right here, and it actually comes out as one elegant USB down here at the bottom behind the right ascension. So you can plug up to 4 USBs up here, and you have one nice USB going to your computer. So it's really clean. And all the back portion of the right ascension, right down here, you can see with my cursor, is behind the right ascension. So it's actually not moving. So none of the cables are having to move side to side, which can help with wear and tear. Now the next set of ports right here, they are 3 auxiliary power ports, 2.1 millimeter power ports, so you can plug your camera power into that or any other things that you might. This is about a max of 5 volts. So I don't know if you could really run like a dew heater off of it, but all your camera gear should be able to handle it. And then that again has a 2.1 millimeter port on the back down here as well. So one elegant cable. Jonathan, for your questions, they can hold 110. Obviously, with any major mount, that's its limitation. So realistically, you probably want to keep your system about 75 pounds. They'll be really solid on there, but they can handle the weight. But it's just with any other mount out there, you don't want to push your mount to the very limit of its listed capacity, because it's not going to be solid on there. George, the throughput that I'm aware of at the moment would be 12 volt 5 amp would be the through mount power capacity, but I could double check on that. If you want to know more, you can email me at support@skywatcherusa.com, and I can get more of those tech specs for you from the engineers. And then Jonathan, there is no upgrade to the older EQ8. This is a completely different mount. There's no way to actually basically gut an EQ8 and make it an EQ8R. It's vastly too different of a mount. There's a lot of internal adjustments in the EQ8R, so you'd have to either sell your EQ8 and buy an EQ8R, or just use what you've got. But there's no, unfortunately, there's no upgrade path. Now the EQ8R also on the rear, all these ports that you see are actually underneath the saddle plate, the D plate saddle up there. These sit just below it, and it's hard to see on the mount behind me. So these sit just below the saddle. So as the deck moves, all the cables move with it. They don't hang. But on the rear part of the saddle, on the back, all the USBs and the power ports are at the front of the saddle. And then behind the saddle is our auxiliary ports. And there are several pinout ports on the back there that you can plug in auxiliary serial cables. So if you have like a guide cable, like an ST4 guide cable, or if you're using like a StarSense for Skywatcher, if you have one, you can plug that in, or any other serial device you can plug in there. And then of course we have the auxiliary cables, back ports down here as well. Having imaged with the mount myself, I don't use the auxiliaries that much, but they're there for a variety of different things at that point. So Jonathan, we're gonna get to the direct connect here in a minute, and we'll talk about SkyX connection as well in just a second. So like I said, all of this cable management features, they reduce cable drag, so you don't have any of the cables hanging, nothing's going to get caught. So you can actually use this in a remote observatory and not really have to worry about cables getting caught. That's a huge fear. And when you got a mount this big, you can put all kinds of stuff on it. You can put a 16-inch Cassegrain on it if you really wanted to. Now, the mount also has onboard homing sensors, and I'm going to move myself up here now into the corner again because we need some of those bullet points. It has onboard homing sensors on the right ascension and declination. Now, the cool thing about homing sensors is you can basically think of it almost as your first alignment point, because if the mount goes to that point, it knows that it's in that position at that time. So this obviously aims it to that set position. So it makes it easier to do basic alignments because the mount already knows, okay, at this point, I'm in this position. And that's the beauty of a homing sensor. And then we have it on the right ascension and the declination. Another advantage to homing sensors for remote applications is that if you lose power and you can toggle the power back on in your remote facility, you can go back to the homing position and you haven't lost your alignment because the mount knows that, okay, I can take this position and I know this is where I'm at. So built-in homing sensors on the EQ8R as well. Now the new thing that we've actually added, and we're going to get into this a little bit more, is the built-in USB-B port. So our new motor boards that are found on the EQ8 have a built-in USB-B port on the side plate. So you have your serial ports for your controller, your auto guider, and then right next to those is a USB-B port. Now, that allows for basically direct connection to your PC. We're hoping to make things more Mac friendly, but it's a process. So what you could do with this is, rather than using the SynScan hand controller, you can actually plug in a USB-B, the same as like a printer, plug that into that port and plug that into your computer, and you can use like our SynScan Pro software, which is free on the skywatcher.com global website, and you can actually control the mount through your computer using that. You could use it for EQ mod. I personally have never used EQ mod, so I've heard if you have the right ASCOM drivers, you can make all that work, but it's not something I've done personally. And to answer some questions that have been in the feed about this, Skywatcher has been working with Software Bisque for several years now. That's the software that we use to test our products. We use SkyX Pro. The reason why we use it is because everything is under one software: the guider, the mount, the filter wheel, the camera, rotators. Everything is in that software under one software. I don't have to have one window here and one window here and all that stuff. So we actually work with BISC, and they wrote an internal driver for SynScan. So you actually don't need ASCOM for using SkyX. You can use just SkyX. You do a 1-star alignment on the hand controller, plug our mounts in, and you can go direct to SkyX. But again, SkyX is relatively expensive. And you can do all kinds of things with it, like plate solving and T-point. And there's a lot of other softwares that are coming around, but that's what we use. And we are working on a direct connection with this PC Direct soon, but it requires some engineering. We've already had those discussions. Our engineers have discussed that with the BISC engineers. So we are working with that. But if you don't want to use that, you can use EQ mod. Apparently that works really well. It's been worked well with our mounts for many, many years. Ken, we're going to get to that in just a second, so hang in there and we'll cover some of that. So to advance the EQ8R series even further, we have the EQ8RH. Now the RH features an on-axis Renshaw incremental encoder on the right ascension axis. That encoder has 11.8 million ticks, and it reads the exact position of the right ascension shaft at all times. So that allows the mount to basically know that if the motor is moving a little too much or if something's going on, that encoder can send exact corrections to the mount. So on-axis encoders are very, very nice to provide real smooth guiding, especially at long focal lengths. Basically, the limitation of this mount's guiding capability is going to be your seeing conditions, and the accuracy of this encoder is well below an arc second. So any major imager, especially if you're shooting in your backyard, you will never be able to hit the limitations of what this mount can do. So that's pretty cool, actually. Lastly, we have the two mount offerings at this point. We have the again, we have the R and the RH, and the R is available. Both mounts are available in two different configurations, and you can get it with the mount head only if you've got an observatory, and you can get it with a pure tripod and use it in the field if you want. And these are the pricing on these. These are available at the moment. They should be in stock, so if you want to get one, there's not really any waiting on that. So we can ship those out at any time. And let's see, just to get some questions here real quick. EQ mod is still supported. It's always going to be there. We just use SkyX because that's kind of just what we use, and it's always worked well for us. But like any software out there, you just got to find what works for you. So just work with that. Hold on, guys. All right, sorry about that. Everyone's at home today, so little family thing. Apologies for that delay there, but thanks for being cool. Apologies for that delay. So moving forward, so these are our EQ8 options, and you can get a mount head and mount head with the tripod, and those are available right now if you want, and you can order them at any point moving forward. So this will be a good option for all of our advanced imagers there. So let's see, moving on to some of our new stuff that we've been doing right now is we've made some new additions or advancements on some of our products, and that is some of the current production stuff that we've had for a while. We've made some changes to that. And those upgrades are going to start first with the EQ6-R. Now, we just talked about some of the features of the EQ8 and its direct connections with the computer and having the built-in USB. And we've done that now with the EQ6. And it actually shares the same motor board, so it makes it easier for us to provide support. So the USB-B is now featured on all the EQ6Rs, and it's been shipping for a while. So if you've ordered one probably within the last several months, you've probably already got it. So it's just a little USB-B port on the side, and it gives you all that direct connection to the mount and the laptop without any need of a hand controller. You can use our SynScan Pro app that way. And let me drag myself out of the way here. We're kind of playing back and forth here with all of that. So too many bullet points. So this allows you to control with the SynScan Pro app for Windows, or you can use that in with EQ mod with the ASCOM drivers if you've got that set up as well without the need of a hand controller. If you have an old EQ6-R, there is no update option for the EQ6 because that's been discontinued here. You can do direct. And with that, it just simplifies the setup because a lot of people want to go direct to the computer. They don't want to use the controller, so that's an option that you can use now. But if you have an older EQ6-R and you want to make the upgrade to this, you can send it in. It's about $250 for us to do the upgrade. It does require a new faceplate, and you're going to have to upgrade the board, so you have to pay for those parts and the service to flip that over, but that would be an option. It just takes a little bit of time to do that. So the next edition that is out for some of our stuff, this is just starting to ship on a lot of them. We've had customers get this already, is our FlexTube SynScan DOBs. The go-to collapsible DOBs that we've had for a while now have a new motor board in them that feature Wi-Fi. So out of the box, you'll be able to basically connect the DOB right to your phone or device wirelessly using our SynScan Pro app for Windows. Or on this one, though, it would just be our SynScan app, which is available on iOS and Android, and it's free. You want to make sure you have the Pro version. I just think it works better. There's more options in there. But these are starting to ship now. So you still get the hand controller with it. You can still control it normally with a controller. But we just have the Wi-Fi option built in now. So you can now do it wirelessly, or you can do it with the hand controller. That's up to you on that. And that should be shipping at this point. And that just gives you a whole nother method of control. And it's actually available on our 8-inch through 16-inch models. So that's kind of cool and exciting. So new addition that's starting to ship already to our FlexTube SynScan DOBs. Now, the big thing that I know everybody wants to get into is, of course, the 2020 new products. And these are all products that have not quite made it to the website yet. Generally, the way we do this is we'll announce something at NEF, and we'll try to get that information up on the website as soon as possible. And this is what we're doing on all these products, except for, actually, there's 2 in this section that are already up on the website. Ernie, you can use Stellarium to control the mounts. I think you also need the ASCOM driver or SynScan Pro. I've never tried it. I know if you've got a computer that has SynScan Pro, if you have our window opening, if you have SynScan Pro app opened, you can then run it on Sky Safari. But you need our app in there to make that transition over to that software. Stellarium does the same thing. but I think you need the ASCOM drivers. This is kind of the hard part with all the softwares. There's so much software out there that we can't keep up with all the different options that are available. So um, we only know so much on it just because we can't keep up with everything. So we try to, but if you have major questions on that, probably looking around the forums is good from people who've done it already. I know SkyX works because that's what we use. EQ Mod's really popular. Sky Safari for the wireless devices kind of works. They are working on a fix for that. If you're doing wireless stuff with ours and you want to use it on one device, there's a new app called Luminos that actually works with our wireless stuff without the need of multiple devices. So that's an option that you can do as well. So to start off, the new stuff is our USB adapter. Now, we were just talking about all the mounts now that have the new motor board in place. This has the USB-B built into it. Well, now for those mounts that don't have that and don't have an option to make that an option, we now have the USB adapter. And I don't have pricing on this quite yet. They're not going to be very expensive, but this basically gives you that option with by adding this little adapter. And I think this will actually even help with the EQ mod connections. I haven't tried it for that, but it does give you the ability to plug direct without a hand controller for mounts that don't have that built-in option. So a lot of the older mounts, like the original EQ6, maybe if you have an older EQ6-R that doesn't have the new board and you don't want to send it in and pay about $250 to flip it out, you can use one of these adapters. And it comes with the serial cables that you need. They're short little cables, or you can just plug it into your hand controller cable. So you'd unplug the hand controller, and you would then replace the hand controller with this, and then you would plug in the USB-B, and then you can connect that to your computer and do more control with that. So I don't have pricing on these yet. They're not going to be very expensive. This will work on all the older mounts that don't have the USB-B adapters, include HEQ5, HEQ5, AZ-EQ6, the original EQ6, the original EQ8s. They can all use this little adapter to make that connection possible. So let me just get bigger here real quick. This is the adapter. Like I said, it's pretty tiny. So there's a 8-pin serial cable on the back there, and just on the reverse there's a USB-B, and that gives you the direct connections to do what you need to. There's no model number on this thing yet. We're hoping to get that changed out in the next couple weeks, and these will probably be available later in the summer. Just with everything going on, there's been shipping delays, but we're working on getting these. You can keep an eye on the skywatcherusa.com website, and that'll be available here shortly. So we'll try to get that up in the next couple weeks, so this can be pre-ordered, and then the part number will be available on there as well as the price. So we'll hopefully work on that in the next couple weeks to get that going. So that is the USB-B adapter, and let me shrink myself back down here again. Whoop. So let's see what else we got on this one. So this basically just allows you to control your mount with the SynScan Pro app, or give you a more convenient direct link to your PC without using some weird third-party hodgepodge thing. Now we have our own adapter to make that simpler. And it does come with 2 short little serial cables. Comes with a AZ cable, which would be a 6-pin to 8-pin, and then it comes with the Equatorial one, which is an 8-pin to 8-pin. And then all that. The price on that's not available at the moment, but it's going to be fairly inexpensive. There's not a lot to it, and it's fairly small. So that is the SynScan USB adapter coming soon. A lot of the products in this section will not have the prices set up quite yet. We're in the process of getting them going, but we're pretty close. So just keep an eye on the website over the next couple weeks, and we'll get that going. Now the next new thing, this one's actually available right now, is the Solar Quest, and people started to order these already. They are shipping. This looks like an AZ GTI or an AZ GTE, but it's not quite the same mount. It's built on the same chassis and the same gearing. There's no Wi-Fi in this. This is made specifically for observing the sun. And how it does that is it has a built-in GPS and a sensor, a solar sensor on the side of it, which you can kind of see right on the side here. And that little sensor locates the sun. It actually figures out the brightest part of the sky and allows it to locate the sun. So it has a built-in GPS and auto leveling. It can run off of either 8 AA batteries, or we've actually included a 12-volt adapter. It's a plate that actually replaces the connection for the AA battery pack. You plug this little thing in, and you pop that in. It replaces the battery pack, and it gives you a standard 2.1 millimeter 12-volt power adapter. So you can run it off of like a power pack or something like that. That's how we use it. It works really, really well. Holds up to 11 pounds, so you can put any of your favorite solar telescopes on it. We've had up to a Lunt 80 on it, but any of the popular ones, like the 60s and the small stuff like that, or just like your favorite 80 millimeter refractor with the correct solar filter on there, will fit on this. It just has a standard Vixen dovetail on it, on the saddle, so you can mount really anything you want on there. And all you have to do with this little thing is press the power button, mount turns on, you give it a minute or two, it will auto level, figure out its GPS location, and then it will slew off and find its position on the sun. And it's actually incredibly accurate. So all you really have to do is press a button, and it has a small little joystick on there, so you can make those fine adjustments to center the sun, and those corrections will go into the mount software and help drive that around and keep that positioned. And this will run all day. It will even run in totality, so if the sensor's covered, it will still work. And these are currently available. They're $3.99, and they come with the mount head, the 8-inch pier extension, accessory tray, and the aluminum tripod. A lot of fun. It's a perfect little grab and go mount, but it's just for the sun. So if you're into the sun and you want something real specific just for that, this is the way to go on that. Jonathan, we don't really have any plans at the moment to do any optical tubes that big. Unfortunately, they're just not popular enough to do anything that big. We've looked into doing it. We've had discussions about it. It's just the market on that is very, very limited. And for Skywatcher, we need to sell lots of things. It's just not our business model to do small little runs of things. So I could see the possibility of doing like a 14-inch, maybe a 16-inch, but the market on it's so small. But I would never say never. It's just not something that I have on the drawing board at the moment. The factory might. It's just I don't have any of that information at the moment. So the biggest Newtonian for a mount at the moment would be the 12-inch Quattro. So maybe in the future we'll have something else, but I don't have any information on anything at the moment. Now, the next mount here is a mount that's actually been available for a long time, but it's finally here in North America, and that, of course, is the AZ EQ6. The AZ EQ6, for those who don't know, is an Altaz equatorial mount that can be converted to either position. There's 3 positions it can be done in: EQ mode, AZ mode, and dual mode. In dual mode, basically, there's 2 saddles, so you can mount things side by side. And we give you the secondary saddle for that. So this is the AZ EQ6. It's been around for a while, but we just finally have it here in the US. It has a 44-pound payload capacity, and that is per side. So if you're in Altaz mode and you're doing dual mode, that's 44 pounds per side. So you could mount to 11-inch Cassegrains with room to spare if you wanted to. So this has been a highly requested mount. We're just excited that we can finally have it here. It does have our Freedom Find encoder system. And what that basically means is you can disengage the mount slip clutches and manually move it around the sky without losing your alignment. And some of our other mounts have that. The AZ EQ5 has that. The Dobsonians, the go-to ones, have that capability. The AZ GTI has that capability. So this is just a feature that you can do on this, and it can be used in equatorial or Altaz mode in the Freedom Find. So basically, you can move the mount manually without losing your alignment. And these encoders can also be shut off too if you're doing imaging. It actually helps a little bit with the pointing accuracy if you're doing imaging. Built-in aligned illuminated polar scope. For those who don't know, any mount from Skywatcher that has a polar scope built in, it's already aligned. The reticle has been collimated to the center axis of the mount. You don't have to touch it. This includes the Star Adventurers, all of our equatorials that have the built-in polar scope. You don't have to collimate the reticle. We do cover that in some of the manuals if you need to, but you shouldn't need to touch it. Now, we don't orient them, and that doesn't matter because you can loosen the right ascension and just orient that. But they are aligned, so there's no need to fiddle with your reticle in there. Now, what's new for the AZ EQ6, particularly globally, is that it also has the built-in USB port. Now, so the EQ8, the AZ EQ6, the EQ8R, the AZ EQ6, and the EQ6-R are all using the same motor board, which makes it a lot easier to provide service to people because they use the same board, but they all give you that built-in USB connection. So you can now go direct to the mount with the USB. And lastly, we have DV saddles on this mount, and the secondary saddle that comes with this mount is also a DV saddle, so you can use Los Mondi or Vixen style plates moving forward. And lastly, this is a belt drive mount, so the right ascension and the declination are belt drive. That helps reduce any backlash because we don't have a ton of different gears in the system. It just goes from the stepper motor, belt, down to the pulley on the worm. That's it. So there's no backlash between any of the gearing. Now the AZ EQ6 includes, like I said, the secondary saddle, the DV saddle. There's a second one in the box. So you can do that. 2 11-pound counterweights, so you're ready to go. A counterweight extension bar, so you can get more counterbalance capability, and as well as a 2-inch rolled steel tripod. And the price on this guy is going to be $21.70. These are actually on the way. It's actually already on the website too. If you haven't seen, if you go to mounts, it is in there, so you can pre-order this right now if you want. Jonathan, at the moment we're not doing solar filters, particularly hydrogen alpha stuff with etalons are very difficult to produce. And there's just so many good options for solar filters right now that it's just not a market at the moment that we'd rather send you to a company that specializes in solar filters like Daystar or Lunt or Coronado. And if you're doing white light, you've got Thousand Oaks and AstroZap. There's so many good options nowadays that there's not really a lot that we can bring to the table at the moment. Not that discussions haven't happened, but there's so many amazing companies and people doing that stuff at the moment that are really good at it, that if you want solar filters at the moment, you want to go over to them for the time being. Maybe you'll see something in the future, but for now, nothing at the moment. Now, moving forward, to kind of bring in our smaller scopes, our new addition is the Heritage 150. Now, some of you might be familiar with the Skywatcher Heritage 130, that little tabletop collapsible Dob. If you haven't seen it, it's really kind of an awesome little telescope for beginners. It's a tabletop Dob, 130 millimeters, collapsible tube, really easy to use. Well, we're expanding that, with the new 150 millimeter model. The base on this, of course, is bigger to support the larger tube. This is a 6-inch 150 millimeter. It is a parabolic mirror. We stay away from the spherical stuff. So this is a real Newtonian, and so is the 130. 750 millimeter focal length, so f5. So it's fairly wide field, but it's well corrected. There's not a ton of coma on there. The tube actually collapses, so it's a lot smaller and easy to travel with. And it's fully collimatable. The secondary and the primary can be collimated, as can they be on the 130. And then just to keep things simple, it has a rotating 1.25" helical focuser that you can use for real fine focusing. So this is a fun little telescope for beginners. I don't have pricing on this guy yet. This one's not too far out from getting the webpage up, so we're gonna be pushing that out here shortly. But this would be an awesome little beginner telescope. And like all of our other Dobsonians or any mirror systems from Skywatcher, is a 94% reflectivity coating. So you're getting pretty awesome optics on this little thing. And the telescope comes with pretty much everything you're going to need. You got the Dobsonian base, a 25 and 10 millimeter 1.25" eyepieces, comes with a collimating eyepiece and a red dot finder. And it is an 1.25" focuser, so you can use it with any 1.25" eyepiece. So if you've got a nice set laying around already and you just want something small to pop out in the backyard, this guy would work really well, and you can use any of your favorite 1.25" optics on this. Now, the next set, I think, is what we're most excited about moving forward. Is it's a brand new line of refractors, and this is something that we're really excited to show. And this is the first time they've really been publicly shown. So this is our EvoLux ED series. Now the EvoLux is a doublet apo refractor, but these have been dolled up. They are not using the same optics as the Evo stars. These are completely redesigned, completely new line, and we're hoping to have these available later this year. And moving forward, they will be a line, and we're going to start off with the first two. The first one is obviously our 62 millimeter, and the second is our 82 millimeter. Now the EvoLux is probably going to use faster optics than our original doublets, and both of the first two models, the 82 and the 62, are going to be f6.45 ED doublet optics, and these are matched optics with a rear synthetic fluorite rear element. They're all fully multi-coated surfaces to have the best transmission for light throughput. And these are going to actually sit between our EvoStar doublets and our Esprits. So we're going to have 3 lines of refractors. We'll have the EvoStars will be kind of our intro refractor line. The EvoLux will be the next tier up. They're a little bit more suited for more advanced users, those looking to do imaging. These are a bit more suited for that. And then, of course, we'll have our top tier Esprit refractors. Let me get my little face window out of the way so you guys can see everything. And I actually have these here. I'll show you to them in a minute. Just want to get through some of the specs. And then towards the end of this, we can do like a Q&A session at the end of this, just so I can cover all the questions that we're getting. And I can answer anybody's questions at that point. So I'll save all the questions for the end. We can go a little long if we need to, but I'll answer those questions at that point. So continuing with the EvoLux, some of the mechanical features that have been added from this particular line is they have retractable dew shields, so they can get rather small. The 62, for example, is only 11 inches long when it's retracted, so it's pretty small. They have a clamshell mounting. At least these models do. If we go bigger, I'm not sure what the mounting's going to be, but the first two, as you can see, are using clamshells. And they have a Vixen-style dovetail bar on the bottom, so you can mount it to your favorite mount using the dovetail. And then these have huge focusers on them, especially the 62. It's a little hysterical, but they're 2.4-inch dual speed rack and pinion focusers, and they do have compression rings, so they won't mar up any of your fancy optics at that point. The samples I have here when I show you don't have the compression rings installed because they're just test prototypes. They're pretty much production on every other level. It's just they didn't have the compression ring at the moment. But the production models will have a compression ring. And they also come with our standard Vixen or standard Cinta style finder bracket, which you can see there on the clamshell. There is a secondary mounting, so you could put two, one on each side if you wanted to. So that does exist as well. Now, they do also include the travel case. It'll be a standard aluminum travel case with laser cut foam. So when you get one, it'll arrive in its case. And of course, you get the dovetail and the clamshell with that as well. And those are the only accessories with these standard. We figured if you're spending this kind of much money on a refractor of this size, you've probably got some nice goodies laying around already. You can always add a 2-inch diagonal or whatever you want in the future. Some optional things that are going to be available for this are a carry handle, and the ones I have right now don't have the holes or the handle with them, but there'll be an optional carry handle for them, and the holes on top will be also available for an external piggyback dovetail if you want to do that. And they also have matched 0.85x reducer flatteners with a rotator that will come with it. And prices on these are not determined yet, but we're probably a couple weeks out from launching those onto the website as well. These will be available later this year once the shipments start to come in. Now, with that being said, let me just pull out some of these scopes here real quick. Let me go bigger. We'll start with the 62. This is the 62. Now I've been imaging with this, so it actually has a Starizona motor focuser on there. This is their micro touch low profile. As you can see, it's one they already sell for the Feather Touch. It just happened to work for this one, so it works really well actually. But this is the 62. As you can see, it's relatively small. This is only 11 inches long. It is extended a little bit. If you notice here, though, on these, they actually have markers for your out focus on both sides of the focuser. So we have markers right there. The back here will have a compression ring down in here. And then this whole thing obviously threads off the back for the flattener. And the dew shields do extend out. So that's the 62. Really tiny little telescope. Would be fun little grab and go eclipse chasing, fully multi-coated optics down in there as well. So that is the EvoLux 62 ED doublet. So we're excited to have these coming soon. And after that, we have the 82 millimeter doublet EvoLux as well. F6.4 optics, got a baffle built in to the front of the dew shield there with all the information on the lens there. And then this is an extendable dew shield as well. It gets a little long, but it's a really long dew shield to help prevent all that dew, and really nice baffling, so it's really quite dark down inside of there. So these are, then there's the big dual speed rack and pinion on the back there with the markers on top there. So that is the 60, or the 82, I'm sorry, and then the 62 we just saw. That is the EvoLux line. And just really quick, they do have matched focal reducers. So that's the 82 focal reducer. And these are 0.85x reducer flatteners. So they flatten and reduce. They have 48 millimeter threads, so they can handle full frame if needed. I have yet to test a full frame camera completely on that. And just to answer the final questions here, and then I'll do the Q&A stuff at the end there. They are going to come with this adapter, and this adapter right here adapts it, but it also rotates, so you can actually position your camera right there without it doing it. Now, the cool thing about this adapter is even with all the screws loosened, this will not fall out. There is a set of capture threads in there, so you'd actually have to pull and then unthread this out completely to pull these two apart. So there's a capture thread in there for security purposes. So if the screws are loose, your stuff will not fall off. Now, lastly, and then I'll get to the questions here, is you can actually thread a 2-inch filter into the light path at this point. So if you're using a DSLR with one of these, you can put your favorite filter in the front there and then hook everything back on the back there, and you don't have to worry about filters. And we are working on an adapter like this for the current EvoStar lines. It's just not ready. The 72 has one, and when you actually buy the reducer for the EvoLux, it will come standard with this adapter. The filter is not included. You have to get your own filter. So those are the reducers. So now that that's all said and done, I'll get to your guys' questions. Let me try to get back through here at the moment. I'll try to answer them in order. Jonathan, I wouldn't suspect us doing anything bigger than doing anything like that. So sorry about that, guys. Just again, working from home. So Roland, the ability to make a refractor that big requires big ED glass optics, and you cannot get optics that big regularly. So we would love to do something bigger, but it costs a lot of money to get an ED element that big. So if we do something that big, I don't suspect you'll see anything that big from us anytime soon. It's just not realistic for us to make anything that big. The Esprit 150 is already huge and relatively expensive, so you want to make sure that you can sell what you're making, and the price jump from going to a 6-inch ED element to 7 gets crazy. So you don't want to have that too much. That's why you don't see a lot of 7-inch or bigger refractors. So at the moment, I would love a 7-inch refractor, but I don't see us making one anytime soon. Let's go down the list here. George, I was actually imaging on one of these. The color correction is actually pretty good. I don't have the picture in front of me, but I was actually surprised with the reducer how well color corrected they are. We're still doing some testing on it to show that, but they're fairly well color corrected, especially for imaging. We have a corrective element in the focal reducer. It's not ED, but it is a higher level of correction than standard glass. But that's in the focal reducer there. Let's see. Jeff, they don't come with an autofocuser. That's one of my autofocus motors on there that I had from Star Arizona. I'm sure we'll have motor focusers from them and like Optech and stuff in the future, so you can use them for autofocusing. But at the moment, there is no autofocuser that will be included with them. That's just a dual speed rack and pinion, and you can add your favorite motor to that in the future. Let's see, going down. Does Skywatcher have any thoughts on offering a line of CCD cameras? No. Cameras are a pain. There's the chips and the electronics, and everything advances so fast that you really got to be up on that all the time. And we're really good at doing telescopes and mounts, and that's what we're going to focus on. Cameras, they're just not our market. We have plenty of friends that can help you out with that. Starlight Express makes great cameras. You have SBIG and FLI and QSI and Attic, and of course ZWO. And there's a wide variety of stuff you can use. So there's a lot of cameras on the market you can already get, and a lot of them are using the same chip, so there's nothing that we're really going to be able to bring to the market. We can bring optics. We can bring affordable optics and mounts and really get you going that route, and then you can go off to our friends and get your camera of choice at that point. But Skywatcher has no plans for cameras. So ED glass used, we do not discuss the glass types any longer, and I know we get a lot of flack for that. Here's why. A refractor has to be 2 or more matched elements of glass to provide the color correction needed. And we feel that pushing a match system out rather than just saying, oh, it's FPL whatever, doesn't tell you anything. Just because something's FPL 53 or 55 or 51 or whatever it might be, doesn't mean it's a good telescope. So we don't release the glass types anymore. I understand that may be frustrating to some people. That comes from way above my pay grade as well, so that's just the choice Skywatcher has gone with. And there's several other companies that don't release the glass type either. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry, but that's just kind of where we're at the moment. So the EvoLux designs, the ED optic element will not be publicly released. Let's see. Skywatcher offer packaging pricing options. We've talked about doing packages with mounts and optical tubes, but at the moment, it's not something that we'll be doing at the moment. So, all right. I think that's all the questions. We have a couple minutes left. If you guys have any other questions, you can definitely let us know. I'd be happy to answer anything right now. Real quick, because I know we've gotten questions about this before. So I run my own outreach program as well, and it's called Focus Astronomy, and people have been asking about digital star parties. Well, we're finally doing them, and they're called Star Streams, and you can visit us at the Focus Astronomy YouTube channel. This is sponsored by Skywatcher, because we're basically borrowing all the equipment you see right now, and we're using that for these streams. So these are digital star parties. We stream live images off the telescope and direct onto YouTube, and you can watch those every other Friday. The next one is next Friday, so next week we'll also discuss this as well during the live feed as well. So weather permitting, you can go to the Focus Astronomy YouTube page or focusastro.org, and you can learn about all of what we do over there with that. So digital star parties are now happening as well. Couple more questions here. Mike, if you're looking for a bunch of these, you can always email us and we can talk to sales and see what can happen. It depends on how many you need. But you can always email support@skywatcherusa.com. If you need a ton of them, then maybe. If not, we can just send you to a dealer, and you can pick them up from there as well. But the Solar Quests are in stock. So if you have more questions on that, Mike, you can just reach out to us and we'll see what we can do. An optional mirror mount. Oh, I see what you're saying. Putting an 18-inch Dob on the EQ8. I'll talk to him about that, but we'll see what we can do on that. Let's see. Any promotions coming up on the EQ6-R? There's always something coming up. I'm not able to tell anybody about future promotions. I get in big trouble about that. So you're just going to have to keep an eye out for that, but probably. I don't know when. Right now, our ED doublet refractors, the Evo Stars, are on sale this month. But yeah, I'm sure there's a mount sale coming up, but I don't know when. I actually don't. So let's see. Can you just get the Solar Quest head on its own? Unfortunately, we're just selling the Solar Quest as a kit at the moment. You have to buy it with the mount head, the pier, the tripod all together. We don't sell the mount head on its own at this time. So maybe we can look at that in the future. Any other questions, guys, before we wrap this up? I appreciate you all being here and watching these. Next week for episode 4, we're actually going to do what we were supposed to do last week before the technical stuff. We're going to go over star trackers, particularly the Star Adventurers, and our polar alignment methods and how to shoot with those. So if you tune in next week at 10 a.m. Pacific, we'll be going over star trackers. If you want us to cover something on future episodes, you can always email us at support@skywatcherusa.com and just title it "What's Up" and give us what you want. If you want to check out or want us to cover something in the future. William, I don't know the ETA for the EvoLux at the moment, and probably later this year at some time, maybe end of summer, fall, I would guess, but I don't know at the moment. Anything new with the Star Adventure lineup? Not at the moment. There's always something brewing on it, but I don't have anything new to show this year for any of those. So keep your eyes out for that, but at the moment there's nothing to really show for any new upgrades or anything for the Star Adventure, and I don't see anything happening in the near future. So Jonathan, we can do something on the Esprits. That's not a problem. Maybe we'll do an episode kind of talking about refractors and things like that, so we'll look into doing that. But all right, I think that's everything, unless anybody's got one last little tech question. That's it for today. Thanks for being cool. Thanks for joining us on these. We're really glad to have them, and no tech issues this week, so awesome. Again, my name is Kevin Legore with Skywatcher. You can always email us at support@skywatcherusa.com or watch us on Instagram and Facebook. If you like these videos and you want to know that they're coming up, you can always subscribe to the Skywatcher USA YouTube channel here, and it'll let you know when we've got future streams coming. So every Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific. Thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys later.